Welcome, and we are being recorded. Welcome to everyone who's joining us today to discuss this subject of perfectionism and aiming for perfection. And let me just, are you chasing perfection? I was just looking for the correct title. So are you chasing perfection? We all do that. We're all guilty of that. We all bookkeepers. Oh, goodness me, perfectionists. So we're going to have fun diving into this. I want everyone to be sharing, if you possibly can do that, and share your videos, share your stories of aiming for perfection, how it's held you back, what you've learned over the years. And welcome to everyone in Facebook land. Feel free to put your comments as well. Lou's going to look after that for me. I'm filling in for Katrina today, hosting the Power Hour, and joined by Sharon Francisco again. Welcome, Sharon.
Thanks, Deb. It's always good to be here.
Yeah, and we're going to have fun today unpacking this whole perfectionism issue. And the funny, we were just having a bit of a giggle, Sharon and I, because I said, oh, hang on a minute, I've forgotten to fix up my lighting. So I turned off my video and closed the blinds and put the light on. And I said, you know, the light over here, I've got a window, so it gets a bit glary on one side. And then I said, look, it's the lighting in here isn't perfect, but it's good enough. And we both cracked up laughing. I said, how did I do that? It's a perfect segue into this whole conversation about perfectionism, that if I decided that I can't possibly do a webinar until I've got my lighting perfect, then all the messages and things that I want to talk about and share, that would just be kept to myself. So that's a perfect example of why you don't have to be perfect. And in most cases in life, perfectionism is unattainable, as we all know, and it's fraught with disappointment. Really, you just keep getting disappointed if you think that that's what life is all about. Sharon, I know this is one of your favorite topics.
Yeah, it is. I think the thing that kind of I feel that underpins perfectionism is that, and I could be wrong, but we worry so much about what people will think always. Like, that's what I think. I work with my clients, and I know Karen has been been working with me a little bit on and off. And one of the things I get them to do is do a video, just to start getting used to getting on video and posting. And I got Karen to do a video, and she's like, oh man, I shot it like so many times. And I remember when I first started doing video a few years ago, it took me like 20 times before that's good enough now. And now, because I've had enough practice, I do it in 1 or 2 shoots and able to put it up online. But I think ultimately the feeling we have is, what will people think? What are people going to think about the job that we're doing? And I think that's where we've just got to put that into perspective, because what people will think is actually that, you're actually brave and courageous by doing what you're doing. And, I look at other women, especially other women out there that are doing, posting videos, getting themselves out there, building their businesses, and think, wow, they're just being courageous, and good on them. And the more support and energy you put behind people doing those good things reinforces that, it's human to err, right? Like, it's human to mess up sometimes. And yeah, I think you made a good point before, Deb, about when it's good to be perfect and when it's not, perfect, and when it's not.
Yeah. As bookkeepers, we aim for perfection when we are also not always perfect. We get things wrong, and that's because we're human. But our standards are pretty high, and they need to be high because clients need to rely on the work that we're doing. So we aim for perfection. As I say, we make mistakes, our staff make mistakes, and that's okay, and you deal with that. But at least you're aiming for that. But pretty much anything else that you do in life, if you are aiming for perfection, you're actually setting yourself up to fail. And it's really not helpful. Nothing will get launched. That video won't get done, Karen. You would have never actually posted that. I'm going to get you to unmute and tell your experience about that. And in fact, I was saying to Sharon earlier, you know what? The reality is that I would never have launched Pure Bookkeeping in 2010 without Pete pushing and pushing and pushing me, because it's not perfect. I haven't got, and you know what? This is like 11 years later and it's still getting updated. It's like a constant thing. And if I had have said, no, I've got to get this in and I've got to add that in and all these other things, it would never have been good enough for me to have launched it. And that's another thing Sharon and I were talking about. My interpretation of good enough, because Pete said, and he has said this to me with the accountant's presentation, just get it good enough, Deb, just get it good enough and get it out there. And my interpretation of good enough is like down here somewhere. It's like, oh, that's good enough. I don't really care. That will do. That's what that means to me. But Pete's idea is good enough is actually way up here, because he says, you've already got it up here. So that is actually good enough to launch. So launch it, get that video out there, do that webinar. Don't worry about your lighting and all of that. And I think when you are authentic, people can see through fake. When you are aiming for perfection, everyone knows we're not perfect. You know, you see the Facebook reels and all that stuff that we're subjected to all the time. And people are saying, here's my little, thing, and look how good my makeup is. And my family's just perfect. And my kids are always smiling and they're always eating healthy foods. And we're seeing this perfection reel just go on and on and on. And we know it's not true. So if you are creating a video, whatever it is that you are creating, be authentic with it, be real, let people see your vulnerability. There is nothing to be hidden about that. It's, maybe once upon a time in the 30s or 40s or 50s or something like that, when everything was prim and proper and it was all things like that. But nowadays, people just want to relate to someone that's authentic, that they can see the real you. So on your website, it needs to be authentic. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just don't have any typos in it. That's just about, everything else is good.
Yeah, definitely. I think what came to mind when you were talking about that, remember that interview in the last 12 months, it's been since COVID, and the guy, he's some big top guy on, I saw it on the news, and he was doing this interview and his kids come running in and his wife.
Oh, yes.
Remember that? That to me is like, and they were like freaking out, and he kind of took it so well. It's like, that's real. That's, that wasn't meant to happen, but to me, we could all feel it, couldn't we? It was like, that could so easily happen to any of us at any given point. So it actually sort of, and I know I've talked about this before, but I think that's why, to begin with, when I first started using Pure Bookkeeping to scale the bookkeeping business, and I watched your accountant's presentation like 20 times, and I wanted to get it right. And then when I actually got out there, started talking to the accountants, I felt like I didn't do it right. Like I actually felt like they felt sorry for me, to be honest. And I actually think it was the same feeling that I had with the guy with the kids running in the room. It's like, well, she's okay. Like she's she's harmless. We'll give her a go. And it's like, and of course, we had the bookkeepers that went through the skills test. I knew that we had a good, solid team of bookkeepers that would deliver, and they only had to work with us a little bit to know that we were good. But me fumbling kind of made it more authentic, which they felt kind of more connected to me because I was being more real, I guess. I don't know. And that's, I guess, again, a backup to say that you don't have to have it perfect.
For sure. And Karen, do you want to unmute yourself? Tell us about your experience. Sharon mentioned the video, and I had a look at that as well. I saw that going live. Yes.
It's my nemesis. I don't particularly like them at all, but it's something that I need to overcome. So Sharon emailed me after a 6 weeks challenge, and could I do a testimonial? Of course, I'd love to do a testimonial. but I'd much rather do a written one, of course. And I seriously had, I reckon, 20 attempts at doing this testimonial. And I'm not one for swearing, but I tell you, there was plenty of it. Because you're going to say something, like, that's not what I wanted to say. That didn't come across right. And so by the 6th or 7th time, like, the language was pretty ordinary. And I just went, why can't I do this? And it was just, it's just overthinking it, I guess. But I was doing a lot of lives for a while, and I've got a bit busy working on my business, and I've let that go. So when Sharon asked me to do that, it was just like I was starting all over again, just lost all confidence. But something Sharon did say to me, because I was honest with her, and I said I had many, many attempts at doing it, that she suggested to me that I do video every day just for my own purposes, to get my confidence back, talk to the cat, whatever. So I have been doing that. I still wouldn't say my confidence is back again, but it is, I think, that authenticity, because when I do watch other people's videos, they just come across so real, don't they? And I just think, why can't I just accept that I'm real? Like, this is who I am, and I don't speak that well because I'm, it's not something that I'm confident with at the moment. So, yeah, certainly a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, it does come with practice. I hate doing videos. I've got used to doing webinars. I used to be terrified of webinars and public speaking and all of that. And it's akin to that kind of feeling that you get when you're standing in front of a video. So I completely get what you're talking about with but practice does make perfect. I don't know about that, but practice makes better for sure. And Sharon, you mentioned the accountant's presentation, and I was terrified for many, many, many times, and I really didn't want to do it. It made me feel quite sick. But, and I've spoken about this before. Why would I put myself through that? Because it was important enough to me. And it meant, because I had the vision and all of that. So pushing through those barriers does give you more confidence for sure. No, thanks for sharing that. And Karen, did I see you? I think I might have seen you did a video for clients, didn't you? Was it, or prospects or something?
I have done a few videos, and I was on quite a roll with it. And it was interesting what you were saying. Like, I still, didn't think I looked brilliant or sounded good or anything like that. But I got to the point where I didn't care, if you understand what I mean. Like, just get on with it. This is who I am, warts and all. And I was really getting into the flow. So I'd done a few. But yeah, I'd stopped with just trying to work on a few things on my business. And it's like that confidence has just fallen away, which is a shame. And it's something that I need to get back again, because it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Diane, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. You're always a great contributor. What's your take on this striving for perfectionism?
You love putting me in the hot seat, don't you?
Helen, you're up next.
I think, like what you're saying, because of the job that we do, we're always looking for that, that the things to balance correctly and everything to be perfect all the time. But then I've had a couple of experiences where I've done the right thing, but then someone else has questioned it and made me doubt myself. And then that in turn has made me go, well, maybe I'm not perfect, or question, did I make that mistake? And so you rethink it and you redo it. And and especially, I'm still uncomfortable, even though you put me in the limelight all the time. I'm still uncomfortable talking. I find that I tend to stumble on my words, and I haven't even had any experiences doing videos yet. So good on you, Karen, for doing that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more because of what we do. We look for that perfection. And when we can't find it, we tend to doubt ourselves, or we lose that confidence to actually continue on.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's like some of the messages that were coming out when we were promoting this conversation today was like not to be too hard on yourself. I think we're all guilty. Absolutely. We are our harshest critics often. And the way I have learnt to look at that is to help me be gentle on myself. It's like, Diane, if you were your staff member, so if you were the boss, but you're also the staff member doing the job, and you as a staff member made that mistake, would you have a go at the staff member for making that mistake? Or would you say, look, let's use this as a training experience. This is where it went wrong. This is, okay, now we've found that out. Let's file that back there, or create a system to avoid that from happening again. Do you think you'd handle it differently if it was a staff member that made a mistake?
Joy, it's funny that you say that, because I've got a client where I work directly with a girl that works for him that does a lot of the bookkeeping work, and she makes a lot of minor errors in a sense, and whenever we sort of pick up on something, she feels like she's done the wrong thing. And I suppose my approach is always to train and encourage and learn. So but yeah, with somebody else, like you're saying, with a staff member, I'd probably go, oh no, look, it's okay, we all make mistakes. But when it's yourself, like what you're saying, you're harsher on yourself than what you are when you're working with somebody else. So exactly what you said.
Yeah, I think that might be something for you to put on your notice board or something like that. That I'm trying really hard. I'm trying. It's not like I'm slacking off. It's not like I'm just saying I don't care. I actually do care. I care more than most of my clients care about their work. But sometimes I make a mistake, and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. So put that somewhere to keep reminding yourself that, or just remember back to this conversation. If I was the employee, or how am I with this staff member? Okay, Di, let's just, get a bit gentle on yourself and learn from it. Absolutely learn from it, and put in a system. So make sure if it can be systematized, if that mistake, you can create a system so that doesn't happen again. Or you provide that training, you go and do some research and provide yourself with the training. But then I think that would be the number one takeaway from this whole thing. When you're aiming for perfection, which is an unattainable thing to try to aim for. It's literally unattainable. I mean, we get it right, and thankfully we get it right most of the time. But that doesn't mean we're perfect. And there will always be times where we aren't perfect. And that's okay. I've done my absolute best. And you know what? Sometimes I actually, to convince myself, I would say, did anyone die? Did anyone actually die? Really, seriously. Did anyone lose any serious money, or, those sorts of things are pretty bad. You want to avoid those. But it's like, put it in perspective to what's really important and what's going on in the world and what's going on in your business and for your clients, and what you are actually doing for your clients, and focus on all the benefits you're giving them, all the relief and the removing of the suffering and all of that. Redirect your attention to those kinds of things, which will actually make you feel a little bit proud, instead of stupid about what you're doing.
It's so interesting, isn't it? We're so commonly, like, I listen to interviews and entrepreneurs being interviewed all the time, and it's so common. People just feel like they're not good enough. It's like we're all running around feeling like we're not good enough, and it's just crap, isn't it? To think that we've just got to give ourselves the gift. I know I was doing a bit of research before we started today, and it said Picture the nastiest, cruelest person and imagine their full-time job is to follow you around, constantly judging, criticizing everything you do, that if you do it, everything just right, all your fears will disappear. So that's what perfectionism is. We're just trying to cover up that we're not good enough. And if we do it just right, all of our fears will disappear and everyone will go, good on you, it's a great job. And it's almost like we're never going to win that game. And it's just like a never ending. And they say some of the outcomes of perfectionism are extreme procrastination. So we won't do, like you were saying before, Deb, about doing the website or anything on the business. We procrastinate because it's not, or writing a blog. I don't know how many hours I spend sometimes writing a blog. I think, just change that or tweak this, or it's the same as the video, Karen. It's like, oh, just get that right so that doesn't look like, I can't see that pimple there, and I'll just see like all the little things that we do. It's like it actually stops us. And if we actually step into that fear to do it, the beautiful thing when we practice it in our business, that goes through all of our life, doesn't it? It goes into our relationships, into like any situation where we need to have that, just get in and get it done sort of situation. It goes across everything. So we can start by practicing it in our business first and not needing that perfectionism. And the opportunity cost is the next one. Like what is it costing us by not taking those steps and by saying, it's just good enough. That is good enough. And good enough, the standard's quite high. It's not down here, but you're right. When we think, oh, it's good enough, it's just like we've only had half a go, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that means to me. So I never, it took me ages to get to really understand what Pete was, and it was actually stopping me. I'm going, no, I'm not releasing anything that's not perfect or that's not way up here. But his, as I say, his interpretation of that was completely different to mine, which was, once I got that, and I agree with you completely, Sharon, it does hold you back. It means that you won't release your website because it's not perfect. You won't get out and do networking because you don't know what to say. And even when you say stuff, it doesn't come out perfectly, or it doesn't come out the way you want it to. You won't meet with accountants, and you'll spend all your time, and I've come across this with bookkeepers, licensees all the time, where they're saying, yes, I've now got a designer for the website, and then I've got this, and I'm going to put this thing, and I can't do that until I get these things. And they spend months and months and months, and which you can do, absolutely you can do that, but what you want to do is get version 1 done. So get your 3-page website out using a Wix thing that you can probably mock up, and of course we've got the one in the system. You can mock that up in 3 or 4 hours. At least you've got a website. You can now have a business card that's got your website on it, and people can go to it. You can put your website in your marketing. You can put your website in all your LinkedIn and everything else. But until you get that website, you actually don't go out and do the marketing because the website's not perfect, and it's stopping everything else from working. It's a vicious circle, and there's no end to it until you actually press live and the website goes live. And then finally you can put that to rest. So get it to a point where good enough is something. And the other interesting thing about that, and this brings me back to when I said I would never have launched Pure Bookkeeping back in those days, was that I launched Pure Bookkeeping with everything, 100% of what I knew at that point in time. And every single year since then, it has changed and evolved because I've learned something new. Licensees have learned something new. We've then improved it and improved it and improved it. I couldn't have got even to where we are now with the Pure Bookkeeping system without having done all the work over these last 11 years to get it to where, and it was even good enough when I launched it back in 2010. So you don't know everything. If you're good enough for you and for all of us is up here, and that is, I've given this 110%. I've created my website. It's pretty damn good. I am proud of that website. I am proud to hand out a business card and people to come to that. And you know what? In a few months' time, you might look at your website and you've learnt something new in the last few months, in the last year. And you go, you know what? I reckon I could probably tweak that. And you go and add something else to it and you make something different because you've learnt something new that you did. It's not that you you couldn't have done that 3 months ago because you didn't know what you know now. So a lot of things, when you release something, it is good enough because it's as good as you can possibly get it. And that is as close to perfection as you can get. As good as we can get. How more perfect can you get? And then you will learn something else and you will change it and you will adapt it. So I think that's a really important key to moving on from getting something released and launched and whatever else.
Yeah, I think putting the dates on something is really important, which I know we always bang on about business plans, but if you've got a business plan, that's like the beginning of getting stuff done and pushing you through that fear or whatever it is of wanting to get it right. And if you've got dates on things, and I think the key with business planning is to do your 12-month plan and then to bring that right down into a quarterly plan and monthly actions. If you put those actions in your calendar and they come up, they're like little gremlins. They're like earworms that come up and go, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this. And it's like really hard because you've got to then, okay, well, now I've got to, we're saying about the website or go and do some marketing or get a business card done or whatever it is with your business. And you go, I'm not ready to do that this week. I'll do that next week. And you get sick of pushing it forward. You go, finally, I've just got to do it. And I think putting dates, deadlines on things to force you into saying, okay, by the such and such of December, this will be completed. And then and holding yourself accountable. Or I know we've got accountability. Jacqueline has got the accountability group within Pure Bookkeeping, which is fantastic. But having somebody keep you account to those dates, I think, is really important. I read a quote, Deb.
One of the things, I'll just add a comment to that. One of the ways you can do that is to make it kind of public, not just I'm going to do this by then. Let's say you were going to make your website live, and by the, whatever it was, whatever date it is, and you tell the IT guy or your designer that this is going live, regardless of what state it's at, and you say this is going live. It's like when Pete and I run we don't do them anymore, but we do. I was going to say the road shows, COVID and all that. We're not traveling the countryside. But we'd say, right, we're running a webinar or something. I'm going to run a public webinar on this date. And you move mountains when you are making something public. If you want to organise a community event where you get business owners together to run a virtual meeting and you have an accountant there and you're giving them information about how to understand your financial reports or something like that, and you say you publish it, you publicise it before you've even started preparing for it. You say on the 29th of July, on the 31st of August, I'm going to launch, and you actually do a marketing campaign and you launch it and you haven't even prepared anything. That is the best way to actually force you to get something done, and also to get it to good enough so that you can impress this group of people that you're wanting to, like the prospects, or it could be clients or something like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I want to hear what Helen Constant needs to say about this.
Hey everyone, Lord, I'm far from perfect. And I'm always the first to tell anyone, like I don't put myself down, but I know I do believe I give my best, and it's not perfect, but it's me. It makes up who I am. And I think people expect that. They expect, I walk in on site and it's a windy day and my hair's all over the place. And it's like, I make an entrance and it's like, that's just me. I don't try and I'm not prim and proper, never have been. You know, you might dress like that, but I don't know, I sort of feel that in a way is what makes you authentic, that things go wrong in your world, and, you know, I don't know, that's just me. So yeah, definitely not perfect. And I don't even think there's anything that is, I've never met anyone who comes close to your ideal of perfect. So does it exist? I don't know. I think we can just try our best. And I think we're supposed to make mistakes, aren't we? We're supposed to do that to learn from it. I mean, how boring would it be if we never did anything different or the norm, and everything was so structured, and things just go wrong? You know, we've had those meetings, those Zoom calls where, you know, the hubby barges in and to us, Sharon, the other day, and that's life, you know, that's the life we live in. We're human, and I think it does humanise you that you are working from home. These are the circumstances, and there's other things going on in the other person's world, in their room, that you may not know about, or whichever. So I don't think we have to be perfect. I think we like all our ducks in a row, but we get there, kind of thing.
No, you made a very good point about being and I mentioned it earlier, being authentic. When you are yourself and your clients can relate to you, they are more likely to make allowances for you as well. That's what when you build relationships on and trust based on authenticity, if something goes wrong, you've got a bit of leverage. And also, like if you make a mistake, or if one of your staff makes a mistake, because you're authentic and you've built trust by being authentic, you can say, look, we made a mistake with this. I'm going to fix it. This is what I'm going to do to fix it. And there's some leverage in that. And also when things go wrong in terms of even your personal life, we're not robots. We're not business owners. That's what we do, but that's not who we are. We're human beings. We're parents. We're whatever we are. And sometimes things happen in our personal lives that mean we actually have to pause. You do the absolute necessity, but because you've been authentic with your clients, and if you say, look, my son, my daughter, my mother, something's gone, I can't be there today, or something, and they'll go, that's fine, you go and do your thing. Because you've been authentic with them right from the start.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've done that where I've done, like Zoom training with, we've done training, and I've said to clients, I'm gonna film this. I'm going to film it. I'm going to send it to you. So, and I don't care how I look and everything, because I had that first instance. A client asked me to film the procedure of doing his payroll or something, and I spent hours and hours with Loom and doing it again and again. And I thought, what's the point of this? Like, I think you're harder on yourself, but then when you put it out there, it's not so bad. Like I'd be the first to say I'm not a salesperson, yet Sharon thinks I can sell anything to anyone. So I think, well, sometimes our own opinion is not, I don't seek my own opinion. I always seek someone else's. And I had the same instance with my website. I hummed and hawed, and then I just showed a few clients or a few people who are in that sort of field, and they're like, yep, this is great, no problem. So I think you can procrastinate with the one thing too long, and and yeah, I'm guilty of that too, but I'm just learning to get on with that, because I don't have to be perfect. And as you said, Debbie, we're always updating things all the time. So, my procedures, I just get them down on paper so they can be followed, whichever. And that's it. We can just move on. And when we have time, we make it better when we go back into it and tweak things and whatever. So, yeah, I definitely don't try and be a perfectionist, but yeah, we always try our best. So
that's what I reckon that's why you're selling. That's why you do sell, and why people love working with you, is because of that authenticity. You're not trying to.
So I think, well, sometimes
Sorry, go on.
I think it's really around that authenticity that people love. And that's what I love, this is a bit sad, because I know we talk about social media and we see the perfection on social media and everyone, the right angles and and they just look like they've got this perfect life. And we know it's crap. We know you've talked to them half an hour before and they've been in a bundle, and then you see them online, you go, hey, like, that was my buddy and she just said that to me, but now she's like, it doesn't make sense to me. So what I love about that is that we know that it's not real, what we're seeing, not just on social media, but out there as perfection. We know it's not real. So if we're more willing to be ourselves and to err and to make mistakes, people are going to buy into that more. And that's why, people want to be around people that are real and authentic. So I think that's, that's the ultimate sales tool, I reckon, just being you. I'm sure that's why accountants referred to me, because they felt sorry for me. Especially to begin with, I was not polished at all. I tried, but I was not. I was just going to say, there's a quote that I just love, and it's what you say to yourself about yourself when you're by yourself that matters most. And I reckon we've got to be really careful with our self-talk around what we should and shouldn't be doing. I think we've got everything that we need in us now to be whatever we want to be. And I always say this to my clients: if you built a business to 20,000 turnover, you can build it to 700. You just rinse and repeat. There might be a few skills that you need to get with hiring staff and systemizing and making sure you actually fully systemize that pure bookkeeping system and getting everything set up to be able to scale. But if you can do that, if you can do 20,000, you can do 700,000. There's no doubt. It's just a matter of navigating through that and making sure your self-talk is really good about what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that might be a specific little lesson for you, Diane, to the self-talk, what's going on up here. So that's a very good point. Jacqueline, you haven't spoken. You always like to have a bit of a chin wag on these things. If you want to unmute yourself, have you got any thoughts about chasing perfectionism? Are you there? Are you with us? All right, while we're waiting for you. What about you, Judith? You put some comments in the chat box. Do you have a mic and where's she gone?
She's gone.
And she's gone as well. Would anyone else like to add a comment? I've been tracking some of the chats. Michelle made a funny comment. You only have to be perfect if you're cooking on MasterChef. I can't stand watching that show. It's way too stressful for me. I don't like cooking that much. So putting pressure and cooking into one program is like way too much. Karen?
I didn't realise what a perfectionist I am. I've always been this way. I think that's why I'm a bookkeeper. But I did a macrame workshop about a month ago with some girlfriends, and the girl that was running it was just fabulous, a lovely young woman. And I got to stress point, which is not particularly like me, and she came over and started to help me. And it was just one knot that she was showing us to make this wall hanging. And we got chatting, and she did commissioned a piece of work for me a few months ago for a friend. So we've known each other a little while. And she said, "Why are you so stressed?" And I said, "I'm not sure. I just, I can't get this right." And then all of a sudden she said to me, "You're a bookkeeper, aren't you?" And she said, "I see it all the time." I couldn't get the knots perfect. And that was really frustrating me. So it held me back big time. Anyway, she sent me away, go and have a drink of water, walk around the block kind of thing and come back. She said, "I see it all the time." And it wasn't, and even when I see the wall hanging, there's a piece on it that I'm not happy with because it doesn't sit straight. But it made me realise about that perfection. That's why I sat on this today, because I didn't think I was. But and I was worse as a younger person. Before we went on the holiday, I'd have to plan 3 months ahead and have everything perfect before we left, and I've let all that go. But I didn't realise I still had that perfection in my personal life, and it was causing me great stress. So I've had to do a bit of soul searching about that. It goes back to the videos, because, you know, Sharon's video, I literally did it 20 odd times. And so frustrated. It wasn't how I wanted to come across. It wasn't what I wanted to say, because I truly heartfelt wanted to thank Sharon for what she, you know, worked with me over those 6 months. It has exponentially changed my business. But getting that testimonial right, and it's just, as I say, that macrame workshop, which is a funny analogy, but when she said to me, "You work numbers, don't you? You're a bookkeeper," and I went, "Oh my goodness!" It was quite a shock, actually. So I've realised I am trying to chase perfection, and it's actually not. It doesn't exist.
I think we often hear. Oh, sorry, Karen. Thank you. You've just reminded me of some of my personal experience recently, because I decided to. There was just this random opportunity, you know, the stars aligned and all of that, and I decided to sign up for a 6-week drawing class. I've dabbled with it on and off over the years, but definitely don't consider myself to be creative. But I really wanted to tap in. So there was, you know, I find that they're kind of opposed, the whole perfection. I don't know if it's left or right brain, whichever it is. And I wanted to, just thought this would be enjoyable and something different, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and let's just go with the flow. Anyway, I've got a funny story, because, which you reminded me of, the very first lesson, the teacher's very flamboyant and no rules, there's no rules. And I'm going, no rules? I've got to have rules. I didn't know. Have you got it? No, I can't work without rules. Anyway, she said, no, there's no rules. You're just going to wing it and just pick up. There were charcoals and there were pastels and all sorts of things. And she said, right, just go with the flow. We just want to get all the flowing going. And I'm going, I don't know how to get the flowing going. Anyway, she said, just what I want you to do is just try all the different mediums and see what you like to work with. And so me being a bookkeeper, I did what I thought was logical, which is I made a grid of all the different things, and then I labeled. So I do this charcoal was a 2B and this was a 5C, and here you go. Here, I don't know if you can
Nice.
see that. Let me go. Is it over here? Is it? I don't know if you can see that. That was my grid of my very first lesson. Anyway, I'm sitting and seeing this on this. It's like a workbench thing. We're all sitting around a table, about 6 or 7 of us, and I'm seeing other people going, doing all the flowing and all of this, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at my picture, going,
Oh.
I feel this is completely freaking me out, and I just went. I put it down like that in the middle of the table, and I said, look, this is what I do. And she said straight out, are you an accountant?
Oh, that's so funny. Like,
and everyone just cracked up. It was all I was laughing out loud. I thought, how hilarious that is. How did you pick that? And well, it was obvious, because I'm trying to grid it and label it and measure it and all of that stuff, because how could I assess which one I preferred? Because I'd pick up a pencil and put it down and go, well, which one was that I just used? So I had to grid it and everything, and everyone just cracked up. And the interesting thing about that was, after that, I thought, you are going to tap into whichever side of the brain it is and not be perfect. It's been a wonderful experience, really. It was only 6 weeks. We missed out on the last week because of COVID. But, and I'll show you, I've actually gone right into it. And I've now, I don't know if you can see this one.
Oh, wow.
That's my latest drawing. And that one there. That's the
Wow, that is sensational.
And I kind of thought, you're going to have to just shut down the whole perfectionism thing, and you don't have to get it right. And just what I am now, the interesting thing about this is because of our attention to detail, what I'm doing is I'm copying a picture and I'm noticing the detail of it. So actually one of the qualities of being a bookkeeper, of attention to detail, has actually helped me in this whole experience as well. So, but I wasn't planning on telling you that little story, but I just thought how it was very similar to yours, Karen. And I think, I don't know, I'd encourage you to try something different, be uncomfortable with it, get right, and just be okay with it not being perfect. Diane?
I just wanted to add, you made me think of my experience a while ago. I was learning guitar.
Yeah.
And I had a really good teacher, and we'd turn up to class and he'd introduce a song, and I'd go home, and with any music, and I couldn't tune it to my ears. I always had to get the tuner out. Like you see people pick up a guitar and they play it and they just go, they tune it straight away without just with their hearing, whereas I had to have the the little tick tick thing, making sure I had it correct. And obviously with any musical instrument, you have to practice. So we'd do a song in class and I'd go home and I'd practice, get it perfect to what I thought. And I'd turn up to class the next week and go, I've got it right. And he would come out with another song.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, I just got the last one right now. And then I'd be all fumbly and I couldn't get the chords going and get all frustrated. And it was just, it ended up not being for me because I don't have a music ear. I think you really need to have a music ear to play any sort of instrument. But at the time, like you're saying, I went home and I was like, practice, and got it right and felt really confident, and then turned up to class and the other people in the class would just pick up on the new song straight away as well and just keep playing. And I'd sort of be like sitting there going, oh, no, this isn't for me. So
that's interesting because I wonder, what I sensed about that is that you worked really hard to get it perfect. And then you got it perfect, and then you had to work really hard again to kind of get it perfect. I think part of that I was thinking about is just enjoying the experience, being in the moment and allowing yourself to the freedom to just enjoy that experience. And it's not right, and it's not perfect, and it may or may not be, and I don't know what this picture is going to turn out to be in the end. I may or may not be happy with it, but I tell you what, when I spend an hour a few days a week or on the weekend doing a little bit more, I'm getting myself right into, I'm enjoying this experience of this moment. And I actually don't know what the end is going to be like. I don't know what the picture's going to look like, whether I'm going to be happy with it, but I'm okay with just going through the experience of it without worrying about the end, what the end's going to look like. And that's very different to what we normally do as bookkeepers. We know what the end is. We want this has got to reconcile. It doesn't. It's black, it's white, it's, it's right, it's wrong. It's all these absolutes about it. So to actually go through an experience, it doesn't matter whether it's creative drawing or doing macrame or, playing a guitar, but just the experience of just going through something for the enjoyment of that experience, not for, I've got to rush through this and get the next thing, so that I can say that that's done and that's perfect, and then I can go on. I think it's more about the journey of that, of the experience.
I think, Debbie, that's something, you're onto something there, because I notice when I'm really crammed with work and something isn't balancing or you can't find something, I'll stop and go and cut someone's hair. Oh, I do. I actually do this. I'll go and pick up a hammer and I'll fix something that I've been meaning to fix, or I will pick up some craft work, or I'll do something that I know that I think I'm good at, and I'll finish, or whichever. So it's like something you can't work on or you can't finish because you need to step, like people say, step away, but step away. And it could be you might go sit in the sun and read a book or something that you can do easily without any expectations or anything like that. So I actually do that quite a bit subconsciously. I didn't even realize I do that, but I know I do that because I know if something gets too hard, I'll actually just have an afternoon off and I will say, right, to my husband, let's go fix all the kitchen drawers or something. I know that that's something that I will do. Yeah. So maybe that's, I don't know, there could be something scientific in that. I don't know.
I'm sure there is. Sharon, you got any thoughts about that?
Yeah, they say, I was just going to make this point before, and it feeds into exactly what you're saying, Helen, is that they say to help reduce our need for perfectionism, because I think it's at one point where we kind of wore perfectionism as a badge, like years ago. It was like, oh, I remember when I was like younger that was kind of a thing, that if you were perfect at something, it's something to be admired. And I think we've realized of late that perhaps it isn't something, it's something that we need to work on. And they say one way to reduce our perfectionism is to be aware when we are being perfect, or being aware of what we're doing, to take that as an emotional cue to go, okay, I don't need that. Like just to be self-aware around when you're doing that. Because they say it can cause chronic stress. It can be really stressful for you to, and the need to always just try to do more and better and just go over it and over it. I was just wondering if it would be like, if I put out a challenge, that would be kind of cool to see. And I mean, feel free to say no, but would we like to do like a video and send it in, or post it on the Facebook page, or send it through to me, and just like a 1-minute video? But I reckon we should only take 3 shoots of it. Like we do it 3 times, and then the third one you send through. And because we've all been here together, I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to do, just as an experiment, to get out of our comfort zone and to work on that. You know, we're aware of those emotional cues and go, rightio, we've all been in this group. Maybe we could do that.
I think I like the idea of that, and I'd take that a little bit further or something, in that whatever it is that you are procrastinating about. So whether, if it's a video that you've been wanting to record,
like
something that you wanted to do, or if it's your website that you want to launch finally, the first version of that, or whatever it is, that you post it on Facebook, or send it to Sharon and say, I've finally, or actually post it on Facebook, I have finally done this. The one thing that I've been procrastinating about because I've been trying to get this perfect, I'm going to get this done by the weekend or the end of something or other, whatever the date is, and let us know when you've done it. I think that's a great challenge. And I think another thing that you said, Helen, I'm onto something, and I think this is germinating even more as I'm thinking and hearing you speak as well. I touched on before that I think a lot that we do as bookkeepers is about the end result. And we want to get to the end result as quickly as we possibly can, because that's best for the client and it's best for us and all of that. And the end result is everything balances. We've got the BAS done, right? That's that deadline. We're all deadline driven. It's all about, when I get to here, then that the pressure will be off, because all the BASs will be done, and our whole lives are really governed by the deadlines. And when this happens, then the pressure will be off, and then I will be able to enjoy this, or something else is going to happen. And when I launch my website, then I will feel something. What this experience of the drawing, as you can see, I'm a long way from the end result, and I actually don't know what that's going to look like. And it might look like crap. But what I'm doing is I'm in the moment. I'm not thinking about, I haven't got a deadline of when I'm going to finish that, because I'm enjoying the process too much. I kind of don't want it to end in a way, because I'm really enjoying, it's it's like Helen, you said, read a book. How indulgent. I used to think that was indulgent to read just even a novel, you know. Oh, you can't read a novel, you've got to read a business book, you know, to actually going through life. We all need a purpose, and we'll all that, but in terms of perfectionism, that's a personal thing. This is what we're talking about, is our personal behavior, and it's affecting, and it's stressful, and it causes anxiety and all this sort of thing. To when you find yourself wrapped up in that, think, you know, let that little voice come and say, hang on a minute, what am I doing here? What I'm getting, this is, I know I've got to get this right. If you're working and you've got to get your bas done and things like that, but just pull out for a minute and just go, you know, you're going to get it. It will be okay. And no one's going to die. And it might take you an extra day to get to the end, because you're going to take a break from it. Go and read a book. Go and do something that will help you enjoy the moment. And it brings everything back into perspective when you do that as well. When you do something for yourself or your partner or your children, you go to the movies, you say, no, I'm going to go for a walk. This is doing my head in. You know, it's that kind of, I'm thinking, is this still to do with perfectionism? I think it is. It's maybe a strategy to help us through that, to really be thinking about what is actually going on with me right now. I'm really trying to force this. And once that's a big alarm bell for me, whether it's something in my personal life, I'm trying to get my family together. One's in Queensland, the rest are in Melbourne. I'm an hour and a half away. We're still we're not in lockdown, but you can't have anyone in the home, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're trying to force things, and then you need to just go, I can feel what's going on here. And whenever I try to force anything, it never works out the way I want it to. So it's like pausing for a moment, get your head out of whatever you're in and do something creative, whether that is go for a walk somewhere. That's creative. That's not doing your work. It's filling you up. It's releasing you of the burden of perfectionism and getting stuck down in the weeds of whatever that you're having to deal with, and refreshes you. You know, it rejuvenates, it replenishes. And that's what I think, that's my experience with this drawing. To actually, and I've never had that experience before. It's always been, okay, get the house cleaning done. Come on, I'm wanting to get that done quickly so I can have a clean house. None of us really enjoy usually the experience of cleaning a house. It's always the end game, but there are lots of other things that if we just pause for a moment and experience being in the moment and put everything else in perspective about what's really important.
Yeah, and I think it's like a muscle, isn't it? It's actually putting yourself into those moments to test yourself around the perfectionism, isn't it? I think you've got to work that muscle, put yourself into art classes and things like that, or do a video and really sort of push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think that's the key. It's not easy though, is it? It's not an easy thing to do. No,
but that's I think that's the thing. Anything, as I say, anything worthwhile is not easy, really. You know, if it was easy to grow your business, everyone would be doing it. All the things that we are doing, that, you know, the great respect and pride that I have for bookkeepers in today's times, with all everything that's going on, for you to grow a successful business is not an easy thing, but it's a worthwhile thing to be doing. But it's important to, as we're kind of wrapping this up, to when you are thinking about aiming for perfection and chasing perfection, just remind yourself that it's an unachievable goal to have, and good enough is actually up here. It's not down here. So good enough is as good as you can get, and which is ready to launch. Get that video, post on Facebook. Who was it that just chatted then on Facebook? Maurice. I'll just read that out. I used to think being a perfectionist was a good thing until an old boss pointed out to me that it did not represent good value for money for him. That's interesting. So now I apply that to my business. Does my client really get good value if I spend extra time chasing perfection rather than knowing when near enough is good enough and it's time to move on to the next thing? Yeah, that's important as well. You can be a dog with a bone, but at the end of the day, you'll just chew your teeth down to the gums probably if you keep gnawing at that bone for too long. So I hope you found that helpful. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks, Sharon, so much for joining me and giving your insights as well. Thank you, Karen and Diane and Helen, for your thoughts and insights to stimulate the conversation as well. I look forward to seeing you all next week, and Katrina will be back as well. And have an awesome week. Post your wins on Facebook. Tell us what you've been procrastinating about and what you're going to get done and when you're finally going to get that done, and share with that as well. If it's a website, show us your website. Post that on a chat on Facebook. We'd love to see that. All the best. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Good to catch up. Bye.